Somebody watching this is going to put castor oil in their belly button tonight. They'll lie there in the dark feeling like they finally cracked something nobody told them. Hold on to that picture, because in about a minute, I'm going to explain why the belly button is the least interesting part of this entire story. I went down a rabbit hole on castor oil recently. The boring kind, where you're sitting with trial data at 11 at night and your tea goes cold beside you. And what I found surprised me. The internet has castor oil roughly 60% right, and the wrong 40% is the part everybody repeats. 5 things today, and I'll earn every one of them. First, the mechanism. Castor oil's active compound works through the same signaling system that 3 researchers won a Nobel Prize in medicine for mapping. Almost nobody mentions this, and once you hear it, the argument about whether castor oil really does anything quietly closes. Second, where this belly button business actually came from. There's a real answer. It involves a man in Virginia Beach who gave medical advice while he was asleep, and it's stranger than you're expecting. Third, what the human trials found, including one result that flatly contradicts what half the videos on this topic are telling you about castor oil and digestion. Fourth, exact preparation and application, sourcing, the build, the timing, and the placements ranked by how much evidence actually sits behind each one. And fifth, who should stay away from this entirely? There's a published case report where castor oil permanently destroyed a young woman's hair in a single evening. I'll tell you exactly how. One promise before we start. I'm not going to oversell this. Where the evidence is strong, I'll say strong, and where it's thin, I'll say thin. One housekeeping note before we go further. This video is for education only, and it isn't medical advice. Every study I mention is linked in the description, so you can open the papers and check my work yourself. So, 1982, Stockholm. The Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine goes to 3 men, Sune Bergstrom, Bengt Samuelsson, and a British pharmacologist named John Vane. Their prize was for prostaglandins, which are hormone-like compounds your cells make out of fatty acids whenever tissue gets injured or inflamed. Vane's specific contribution was working out how aspirin does what it does. Aspirin blocks your body from making prostaglandins. That's the whole trick. Keep that in your head for 30 seconds. Fast forward to 2012. A research team at the Max Planck Institute for Heart and Lung Research in Germany, led by Stefan Offermans with Soren Tunaru running the benchwork, decided to finally answer a question nobody had cracked. Castor oil. It's one of the oldest medicines on Earth. It shows up in the Ebers Papyrus. And after 4,000 years, nobody actually knew how it worked at the molecular level. So they systematically switched off hundreds of cellular receptors, one at a time, and watched which one made the castor oil effect disappear. They found it, a receptor called EP3. And I got out of my chair reading this, because EP3 is a prostaglandin receptor. It's part of the exact system Vane and Bergstrom and Samuelsson got their Nobel for. Their paper ran in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. So sit with the symmetry for a second. Aspirin works by turning the prostaglandin system down. Castor oil's active compound, ricinoic acid, works by turning one branch of that same system up. They're mirror images of each other, running through the same Nobel. Now, honest caveat, because I said I'd give you those, that work was done in mice, and the effects they nailed down were on intestinal and uterine muscle. It doesn't prove anything about your scalp or your liver, but it ends the castor oil is just placebo grandma stuff conversation, because we now know exactly which receptor it binds. One more thing about ricinoic acid, since it's about 90% of the bottle. It carries a hydroxyl group parked on its 12th carbon, which is rare in nature. That single oxygen and hydrogen is why the oil is so thick it's sticky, and it's a big part of why it can talk to a receptor at all. So where did the belly button thing come from? Because it didn't come from a lab. His name was Edgar Cayce, born in Kentucky in 1877, 9th grade education, and he became famous for lying down, entering a trance state, and dictating medical advice for people he'd never met. They called him the sleeping prophet. In 1931, he founded an organization in Virginia Beach called the Association for Research and Enlightenment, and it still exists today. Across thousands of transcribed sessions, and by the organization's own count, he recommended castor oil packs more than 1,000 separate times. A physician named William McGarry later spent decades using them with patients and wrote "The Oil That Heals" about it. And this is the part people skip. Cayce didn't put the pack on the navel. He put it over the right side, under the ribs, across the abdomen. The belly button version is a modern simplification of a much older instruction. Now, in 1998, a researcher named Harvey Grady published a small, double-blind study in the Journal of Naturopathic Medicine. 36 healthy volunteers, castor oil packs, blood drawn before and after. Total lymphocytes and a subset called T11 cells both went up, with p-values of 0.004 and 0.008. But look at the detail everybody drops. The rise peaked at the third blood draw, roughly 7 hours after treatment, and then it faded. It was temporary, which tells you something practical. With castor oil, how often you do it matters more than how long you lie there any single night. I'll be straight, that study was small, old, published in an alternative medicine journal, and it's never been replicated. Treat it as a lead, not proof.
Two side notes too good to leave out. Castrol motor oil got its name in 1909 when Wakefield's chemists found that adding castor oil kept early car and airplane engines running at high temperatures. And in 1920s Italy, Mussolini's black shirts force-fed castor oil to political opponents as a public humiliation. Same bottle, wildly different centuries. Also, since somebody always asks, ricin, the poison, is a water-soluble protein that stays behind in the pressed seed mash. It does not come across into cold-pressed oil. Now the human trials, and this is where I have to break something to you. In 2011, two Turkish researchers, Gülşah Gürel Arslan and İsmet Escher, ran a study in 2 rest homes in Manisa, elderly residents with chronic constipation. 80% of them constipated for 10 years or longer. The result is the interesting bit. Castor oil packs did not change the number of bowel movements, and they did not change the amount of stool. Those 2 numbers stayed flat. What did change was the experience. Stool consistency improved, straining went down, and the feeling of having actually finished improved. So a castor oil pack softens the process rather than increasing the output. If you've been told a pack will get things moving, that's the correction. And I'll go further. The intervention this most resembles is plain abdominal massage, which has multiple randomized trials behind it for constipation. A castor oil pack is warmth, weight, and pressure on your gut, so some of the benefit is very likely the warmth and the pressure. The oil itself is still the variable nobody has isolated. Now for the strongest human data, which almost nobody quotes. In 2009, a team of researchers ran a randomized, double-blind trial on 100 people with knee osteoarthritis. 50 took a castor oil capsule, 0.9 milliliters, 3 times a day. 50 took diclofenac, a serious anti-inflammatory drug, 50 milligrams 3 times a day, both groups for 4 weeks. Both groups improved significantly, and the castor oil group reported no adverse effects, while the diclofenac group reported plenty. That's real evidence, published in phytotherapy research. There's more. Castor oil eye drops have been studied for blocked meibomian glands in the journal Ophthalmology. And a 2022 meta-analysis found castor oil raised capsule excretion rates in colon capsule endoscopy from about 73% to 92%, which is why gastroenterologists still keep it around. The honest gap. Transdermal absorption of castor oil through intact skin is poorly established, and for hair growth specifically, there is no human randomized trial at all, which means anyone quoting you a castor oil hair growth study has not actually read it. All right, preparation. Get a pen, because the details are where people lose the plot. Your label needs 3 things: cold-pressed, hexane-free, and a dark glass bottle. Hexane is a petroleum solvent used to squeeze extra yield out of the seed, and you don't want solvent residue soaking into your skin for an hour.
Glass matters because oils sit in contact with plastic for months and pull compounds out of it. If the label says nothing about extraction, put it back. On Jamaican black castor oil, the seeds are roasted and the resulting ash raises the pH, making it more alkaline than the pale version. Some people love it. Alkaline products can also lift the hair cuticle and rough up the shaft. So if your hair is fine, color-treated, or already fragile, the standard cold-pressed version is the gentler choice. Patch test first. A dime-sized amount on your inner forearm. Leave it 24 hours. Contact dermatitis from castor oil is uncommon, and you'd rather find it out on your arm than on your whole torso. For the pack itself, you need unbleached wool or cotton flannel folded into 3 or 4 layers, an old bath towel, and a hot water bottle or a heating pad on its lowest setting. Wool holds heat better. Cotton works fine. Wear clothes you've written off. Castor oil stains permanently, and it will find your bedsheets. Saturate the flannel so it's thoroughly wet but not dripping. Place it on the skin, cover with the towel, then apply gentle heat on top. I'd skip plastic wrap. It holds things in place, but you're pressing warm plastic against skin for an hour when a folded towel does the same job. Timing. Grady's study used a 2-hour minimum. The constipation trial used shorter daily sessions. Start at 45 to 60 minutes and build up as you get comfortable. Evening works well, since you'll be lying still anyway.
Frequency beats duration, 3 to 4 nights a week for 3 to 4 weeks, then take a week off before starting another cycle. Cayce structured it in cycles like that too, and given how quickly the effect fades, spacing makes sense. Store the used pack in a glass jar with a lid in the fridge. You can reuse it 20 to 30 times, topping up with fresh oil. Wash your sin afterward with a little baking soda and warm water. Soap alone loses that fight. Now, placement, ranked by evidence rather than by popularity. Number 1 is the abdomen, with the pack centered over your right side beneath the ribcage and extending across the belly. That's the position Cayce actually used. It's what the Turkish trial tested, and it's the only placement with any human trial behind it at all. If you do exactly one thing from this video, do this one. Number 2 is the lower abdomen for cramping and bloating, same build positioned lower. Plenty of people find it helpful for period cramps. There are no randomized trials for that use, so treat it as plausible rather than proven. Number 3 is a specific joint. Wrap a soaked cloth around the knee, elbow, or wherever it aches. Cover it, apply gentle heat for 20 to 30 minutes. Fair warning, that osteoarthritis trial I mentioned used capsules taken by mouth, not a topical wrap. So treat the topical wrap as a reasonable extrapolation. Number 4 is the scalp, and I want you to be careful here. Warm a small amount, warm and not hot, section your hair, apply to the scalp itself rather than down the shaft, focusing on the hairline, the crown, and wherever you're thinning. Massage for a solid 5 minutes because the mechanical stimulation is doing at least as much as the oil. Leave it 30 to 60 minutes, don't sleep in it if you have long hair, and in a minute you'll see why. Washing it out is its own skill. Castor oil is dense, so work conditioner or a lightweight oil through the dry hair first to loosen it, then shampoo twice with a clarifying formula. Rinsing with water alone will leave you greasy for 2 days. Number 5 is the navel. 2 or 3 drops before bed, held with a small cotton ball. The tissue there absorbs about like the rest of your abdominal skin, so treat it as light maintenance on the nights between packs. And for lashes and brows, a clean, disposable spoolie along the lash line only, never into the eye itself. Now, who should not do this? This section matters more than everything above it. If you're pregnant, do not take castor oil orally and skip abdominal packs unless your OB specifically clears you. Remember that EP3 receptor? It sits on uterine smooth muscle. A 2022 meta-analysis pooling 12 studies and 1,653 pregnant women found that labor induction was more than 3 times as likely in the castor oil groups. This stuff can start contractions. Never give it to an infant. There's a case series from a neonatal unit in rural Haiti documenting 8 babies who became critically ill after being given a traditional castor oil tea. 5 of them died. That's how seriously this needs to be taken with newborns. Skip it if you have acute abdominal pain of unknown cause, a suspected bowel obstruction, appendicitis, an inflammatory bowel disease flare, or recent abdominal surgery.
Warm compression over an inflamed abdomen is a bad idea, and stimulating gut muscle against a blockage is worse. No packs over broken skin, open wounds, or an active rash, and if your patch test itched, that's your answer. Now, the hair story I promised. In 2017, dermatologists published a case report in the International Journal of Trichology. A 20-year-old woman, healthy, long hair, used coconut oil and castor oil before a wash. While her hair was drying, it began to twist. Every attempt to untangle it made it worse. Her entire scalp of hair matted into a single hard mass. The condition is called acute hair felting. It works the same way wool felts in a washing machine, and it is irreversible. Her hair had to be cut off. The setup that caused it was long hair, plus a very thick oil, plus vigorous washing. So if your hair is long, use less oil than you think, keep it on the scalp, never scrub in circles, and don't sleep in it. On swallowing it. Castor oil is a stimulant laxative, not a daily supplement. Regular oral use can cost you fluid and electrolytes, and can make your bowel lazy about doing its own job. If you're on diuretics or heart medication, or you have kidney disease, talk to your doctor before any oral use at all. And the mistakes I see constantly: quitting on day 10, buying the cheapest bottle on the shelf, and the big one, believing castor oil detoxes you. It does not. Your liver and kidneys do that continuously, whether you own a bottle or not. Castor oil is a support tool sitting beside sleep, fiber, water, and movement. It never replaces them. So where does that leave us? The strongest evidence for castor oil is oral, as a laxative, and in bowel prep, which is the least glamorous use imaginable. Solid human evidence exists for knee osteoarthritis pain and for certain eye conditions. Suggestive evidence exists for abdominal packs easing the strain of chronic constipation. The evidence for hair growth is essentially absent, and the evidence for detoxification is non-existent. That's the real answer, and it lands somewhere neither camp wants it to. If you're going to use it over your abdomen 3 or 4 nights a week, with heat, for 3 or 4 weeks, with a cold-pressed, hexane-free oil from a glass bottle. And if nothing at all shifts in 6 weeks, that's useful information too. It means you need a different tool, and you found that out for about $15. So, right side, under the ribs, heat on top, 3 or 4 nights a week. Edgar Cayce landed on that placement decades before anybody could explain why it might matter, which I still find a little funny. If this video is informative, then comment yes. That motivates us to produce more videos like this.